All right. Three, two, and now we're here with new friend of the show, Jeremy Miller. He is, folks, he is an actor, a celebrity chef, a book writer. You name it, he does it. He might even fix cars for you, so you never know. Welcome to the Earth Station One, Jeremy.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. How you guys doing today?
Absolutely great. And welcome. Yeah, welcome to the station. It's an honor having you, sir.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be on.
We're here also, obviously, to promote the Celebrity Chef cooking show that you're doing at Blackwater Creek. And that is on Saturday, December 17th. Make sure I'm getting that in right away, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, we've got a great
um,
event coming up.
yeah, I want to talk more about that, but also, obviously, you've got such a great history. I was kind of curious. I know that, um, uh, you start off did you start off doing acting, like live action work or voice work? Because I know you did voice of Linus, right? As a
Yeah,
Peanuts character.
I actually started doing live action work first. I started when I was 5,
Oh,
so
wow.
I booked a
Wow.
McDonald's commercial within about my first 10 auditions. That was the first thing I ever did, and funny enough, it was me, Jaleel White, and also a guy named Brandon Call, who, if you go back to the 80s and just Google it, he was on practically every 80s sitcom show. He had like 2 of his own that just didn't get picked up and didn't go far. But yeah, we had like 3 or 4 young actors who went on and did, big things after that in that one little commercial when we were all freaking 6 years old.
But did you now, like 5? I can't even remember, like back then for me. Did you, like, were you aware of like what you were doing, really?
Um, I wasn't really. I was a big, I was a TV kid like everybody. I mean,
Sure.
I
Yep.
watched all the classic shows back then, Happy Days and, you know, uh, oh my goodness, Brady Bunch and,
Sure.
those kind of shows. And I would walk around the house reciting the lines and the dialogue and stuff. That was one of the kind of things that tipped my mom off that maybe I might, you know, be good
Hmm.
with it. But at the time, I was taking singing lessons at a place. Mickey Rooney actually opened these places called Mickey Rooney's Talent Town.
Wow.
And
Cool.
that's where I studied. And you could learn acting and singing and dance and pretty much anything you wanted to learn. Um, and my singing teacher also had daughters in the industry. And she came to my mom and said, "Have you ever thought about putting him in, commercials or TV? He has the personality for it. He doesn't shut up. He kind of is perfect for this." And my mom just asked me, she said, "What would you think about trying to be like one of those kids on TV?" And, you're only 5 years old. It was like, oh, that sounds fun.
Sure.
But sure enough, I fell in love with it. As I kept doing it, I loved doing it. I loved the auditioning process. I loved getting in front of the camera and performing.
Hmm.
Um, so I was very blessed. I always loved to do it. My younger brother, who started at the same time I did and auditioned for a long time, by the time he was 11, he told my mom, "I don't want to do this anymore. I don't love it like Jeremy does. I want to be a kid. I want to go play baseball. I want to play with my friends." And it was just a different thing. He didn't have the same passion for it that I really grew to have.
Yeah, yeah, and that's really cool too, especially starting out, with the Mickey Rooney thing, because I guess those schools, like, because in Mickey Rooney's day, you had to do everything, right? You had to be a triple threat, right? You had to sing, dance, and
Absolutely.
act, right? So you probably going in probably had all three.
And just to start, I mean, given they went away real quick. Come puberty, the voice changed, the singing
All right, sure, sure.
changed, and the dance kind of went out the window too. But yeah, it was good having all of that, and even the singing. When we did Peanuts, we actually filmed this. I was part of the Snoopy musical TV special. So
Oh,
we
right.
actually had a vocal special where we all had to sing pretty much the entire show. So
Wow.
those lessons and all that training before when I was young came in really handy.
Wow. Wow. I haven't seen that one in ages. Is that one still available in
Yeah,
places?
you can find it
Yeah.
on YouTube. You can find DVDs of it. I actually
Gotcha.
just found it on YouTube when my boys were out here a couple of months ago, and we sat down and watched it as a family.
So, I mean, obviously it's one thing to be, acting in a commercial or something like that, but then when you're doing the voice of Linus, that's something else, because you probably were aware of Linus, right? So that's a big deal, right?
It was. I still look back on Peanuts as one of the biggest honors of my life, because that, as a kid and being a big fan of Snoopy and the Peanuts gang, the comic strips, the shows, everything, I was like, wow, I get to do this. I get to be
Yeah.
a part of this. And it's still incredibly special to have been a part of something that has such a legacy.
Yeah, yeah, especially since I think, they were, when they were making those specials from the 60s on, they kept, running through kids. Like it was
Oh
like a
yeah,
revolving, like, because the voices would change, like you said.
that that's exactly it. I did it from about 8.5 to 11. And
Mhm.
right about 11 years old, my voice started to change a little bit.
And
And they
then
were like,
boom.
I'm sorry, it's time to move on. That's just how it goes.
Right.
But, that's actually kind of cool in that there are different generations of Peanuts gangs. And we all do get together occasionally, like autograph shows or
Oh wow.
reunions. Peanuts had a big reunion at Knott's about 15, 20 years ago. I think
Yeah.
20 years, 25 years ago now, and brought all of us together. I mean, from everybody from the 60s all the way up. And we had a
Wow.
ball at Knott's. So being a part of a giant family like that and a legacy like that is just, it was incredibly special.
Yeah, I think Charles Schultz just celebrated the 100th birthday of his. He would have been 100.
Yep.
So that's really cool. Now, was that concurrent to your role in Growing Pains, or was that afterwards? Or
I got growing pains and then I got Linus probably about 6 to 8 months later.
okay,
So it was running kind of concurrent, but we did the filming on the weekends, or the recording for Peanuts on the weekends, or
hmm,
we did it on hiatus weeks where we weren't filming Growing Pains.
gotcha, gotcha. One last thing about recording Linus, that's particularly that character. So when they recorded the lines, did you have a blanket with you? Because that would be getting in character.
No, I actually never did.
So
The
he's not a
recording
method
process for
eater,
those,
folks. He's not a method
I guess
actor at
not.
all.
it's funny though, you're never, there's no back and forth when you're recording those. Um,
Oh, okay.
you are solely in your recording studio giving your lines, and you can't just act it. It actually has to be enunciated in a certain way so that the animators are going to be able to do it properly. So you have to
Gotcha.
be very, almost every sentence you have to make a clear stop, and you have to, and it's interesting trying to act but control the tempo and pace. And it's just an interesting experience, and it took some adjustment, but most of us picked it up pretty quickly. And by the second or third time we were doing it, we were right in the groove.
And I would imagine there's some sort of effort to keep the voice of Linus consistent.
They do their best. That was
Yeah.
actually why I got hired. Lee Mendelson, who was the one who
Oh,
did the
wow. That's a
shows,
name.
Lee was there for my audition. And as soon as I got done, he actually walked into the outer room with me and my mom and said, "You sound the most like the original Linus that I've ever heard," and
Wow.
hired me on the spot, basically. So
That's cool.
they really do their best to try and keep some continuity in the way the characters sound. And that was the reason I got the job, is I sounded the most like the original to him.
Nice. Nice. Well, very cool. So you're doing Growing Pain. How did you get the job for Growing Pain?
Growing Pains was actually more of a cattle call type of a audition. It's probably 300 kids coming in through like 2 or 3 days. And honestly, I just went in and I started, I don't even remember reading dialogue and lines. I know I did. I'm sure we got through those at some point, but I just went in and
Mhm.
started doing what I did. I started telling jokes and doing impressions and just messing around and talking with the producers and the casting director. And to this day, the producers still say that that's what got me the job,
Yeah.
was that I was just able to come in and be a kid and be natural. And it wasn't even my read of the script. It was my personality when I came in and started entertaining them.
Hmm. That's cool. I would imagine that for especially a series, if you're trying to be a regular on a series, especially a family drama or family sitcom, they want that chemistry. That's the most important thing, not whether or not you
Absolutely.
can remember every single line, right?
That's absolutely true. They're looking for maybe somebody who looks a little bit like the parents,
Sure.
someone who they want to find that chemistry. I can tell you a little bit. The very first Carol was not Tracy Gold.
Hmm.
We actually had a great actress who played Carol originally, and they basically ran the pilot through the test groups, and the chemistry wasn't there with her. That's basically what the producer said. They just the fans and the people who were watching it didn't feel the connection with her. So she ended up being recast, and thankfully Tracy was their choice, and the rest is history. Because I really
Wow.
believe that chemistry that we all had, and the fact that we all became a real family behind the scenes,
Hmm.
I really believe that came through on camera, and is one
Yes.
of the things that helped make us, a special show.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Was that recorded in front of a studio audience?
Yeah, we did live studio audience every week,
Wow.
old school
I've
4 camera show.
I've been to a few of those tapings back in the day, like Golden Girls and whatnot, and
Mhm.
and that's it's like watching a play. I mean, it's like
Yep.
you're performing a play, very different than doing a movie or a traditional like drama show, right?
Oh, absolutely. I had done 2 movies before I got Growing Pains.
Hmm.
Um, Growing Pains was my first sitcom, and I had done plays before through Mickey Rooney's Talent Town, actually. Um, and yeah, to me, even as a kid, I was like, okay, this is what I know. This is what I recognize. I felt more comfortable doing a live performance show because of what you said. It was more like doing theater.
Hmm.
Doing the films was odd. I enjoyed it, but it was very different than what I was used to.
Gotcha, gotcha. So tell us a little bit about Growing Pains. You grew up literally on the show, right?
Yeah, we
What
filmed
what is that like?
we filmed from 8 to 15. That was my ages, 8 to 15. So basically,
Wow.
half my life was spent on television at that point, and it has its ups and downs. I mean,
Sure.
there's definitely positives. I got to meet amazing people and do incredible things, but that does come with some backlash. You go back to school, and well, now you're on TV, so all the girls like you and want to be around you. Well, guess what?
Mhm.
That just made all the guys at school hate you, and now you have a bunch.
Right.
So it was a delicate balance. And I'll tell you, and any child star will tell you, being splayed on television for the world during your
Mhm.
puberty, most awkward years, when you really feel horrible about yourself, is not the greatest thing. Um, it, it it doesn't do wonders for the self confidence, but you know, all the negatives are far outweighed by the amazing positives. I mean, I had this incredible second family for 7 years, and I don't just mean the cast, although they were my second family.
Right. Yeah, the
I mean
crew,
our
right?
I mean our crew, I mean everybody. We had we knew our cameraman's kids. We knew our lighting guy's,
Wow.
wife. We knew the prop guy's family. Everybody knew each other and was a part of this big group. So that was just an incredible blessing. And then I got to travel the world. I got to, help 100 different charities. I got to meet millions of incredible people. At 14, I got to speak at the UN. I mean, what kind of
Wow.
14-year-old gets to
Wow.
do
Wow. Yeah,
Uh,
what was that about?
I was working with John Voight and Raul Julia, Angelica Houston, and
Wow.
a bunch of other people, Valerie Harper, and we were basically fighting for a bill that we wanted ratified across the world for basic children's rights. At the
Hmm.
time, there were 40,000 kids a day dying from basic nutritional deficiencies, 40,000 a day.
Wow.
And, we were basically trying to get governments to step up and do something about this. So I got to speak to 81 heads of state at the UN, and we ended
Wow.
up getting every country but two to ratify that bill.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow, that's
So,
impressive. That's
you know,
awesome though that you were
it's
active on that level at that age.
well, I was blessed to have older mentors who, were willing to bring in a young kid to something like that and,
Hmm.
show me that we could help make a difference. Because I mean, I certainly didn't know I was capable of making any sort of impact like that.
Right.
At that age, it just doesn't occur to a 13-year-old, 14-year-old. But it was just those kind of things that were amazing that I got to be a part of. So any of the small negatives that come with that are well wiped out by the positives.
I have to ask, so in I think wow, now what is it? Almost like 8, 10 years ago now? Like you were in there was a sort of a reunion movie, right? Like
Yes.
what was that like getting all back together?
Oh, it was incredible. We actually did two reunion films. One was in 2000 and the other was in 2004.
Okay.
And both were just great experiences. The first one, we all hadn't been back together in a long time. And there was actually a lot of healing that went on that first time. Not that we had any direct negative experiences, but it's been well known that Kirk was a bit of a problem at the end of the show, that he had made life a little difficult for our producers, our writers. He was changing things around because of his extreme views. He felt Growing Pains was too risque. Um, and there was some hard feelings from a lot of the cast.
Sure.
We weren't invited to him and Chelsea's wedding, things like that. But when we got on set the very first day, immediately Alan's bantering with Joanna, I'm bantering with Tracy. And then all of a sudden, because we're outdoors, we're in a park and we're filming. And I don't know if you know anything about Montreal, that's where we were shooting. But they say
Oh
if you
yeah.
don't like
It's been a
if you
while, but
don't like
yeah.
the weather, wait 10 minutes.
That's
Literally,
true.
literally, yes.
So gorgeous blue sky, everything. We're about to film, and a cloud comes in and just cloud burst, pouring rain. So, of course, all hands on deck. Everybody runs, grabs the equipment. I'm grabbing cameras. I got lights. We're all running to the vans. They stuff all of us, all the equipment in one van. They get all us actors in the other van. And we had to sit there and just wait out the storm, which was, like a half hour. And Kirk took that opportunity to basically apologize to all of us.
Wow.
Um, he just took a moment and said, "Look, I really wanted to say I'm sorry for the way I behaved back then. I didn't understand my faith or how to go about sharing it or being a good Christian. And I thought those were the things I had to do that. And I really want you to know I'm sorry for everything I did and that I cut you guys out of my life." And it was just right then everything was forgotten.
Right. Hugs around.
Yeah, it was just an instant moment of healing, and the rest of filming was just a ball being back together again. And then the second one, we just had a blast. We were in New Orleans.
Oh
um
wow.
yeah, we
Nothing
were
goes wrong
in New
there. No.
Orleans for Mardi Gras,
Oh,
when we were filming, so it was a little crazy, but especially for that was still during my drinking days, so it got a little crazy, but it was a great time and a great experience, being with the cast. Anytime we all got to be together like that, and then recreating those roles together was really special.
So I have to ask, is there any chance that you will hear like the Ben Seaver scream again? Will there be another reunion?
I can honestly say I don't know. Warner Brothers is being very mum
Oh,
on what.
that's crazy right now. Warner Brothers
Yeah,
is crazy right now, but
well, that's the thing, is Warner Brothers owns Growing Pains. They own the rights. ABC didn't own it. It was a Warner Brothers show. So we, a couple of years back, actually, I put together a reboot, basically. Got a great writer to put together like 6 episodes for me. And I got the cast on board. We got everybody together. And then Warner basically just said, "We're not interested. If we do anything, it's going to be one of our own stories, and that's it." So we don't know.
hmm.
It could happen. It might not. I don't know. What I do know is at the time the cast was definitely up for it.
Okay.
Hopefully nothing has changed. But people's lives change and what they're able to do changes. So I don't know what everybody's availability is now, but I do
Sure.
know a couple of years back the cast was all on board, and we'll see. So Unfortunately, I don't have a definitive answer on that
That's
one.
fine. I mean, the fact that everybody seems willing and able, I mean, that says a lot right there, you know. And I think a lot of people would love that. You know, it's certainly not unheard of. We see these shows popping up, reboots and continuations all the time. So I definitely think it's a possibility and in the cards. Um, but I wanted to switch gears, of course, like sort of you did in college, right? You went from drama, studying drama, being really into drama, to my understanding, all of a sudden getting a love for the culinary arts.
I had
How
always
did
had a
that
love for
happen?
cooking. I always had a love for cooking. My grandma was a self-taught chef. Um, from the age of 3 years old on, I followed her around the kitchen. Um, every holiday she cooked very big and I would help. And I fell in love with getting to cook for others and showing your love for others that way. And later on, when I was about 10 years old or 9 years old, she bought a restaurant up little north of Bakersfield, California, a little small fishing town up there. And I would go up there in the summers when we weren't doing growing pains and I would work in the restaurant with her, which to me,
Oh,
it wasn't work. It was hanging out with grandma. But
sure.
that's where I got my passion for it. And after dropping out of USC, which was just nothing against USC. I loved the school and I wish I could have taken a better I wish I could have had a better experience, but I broke my ankle really horrifically
Ooh.
in a
Oh,
tennis match like 2 months in and had to drop half my drama classes because I couldn't be moving around stage on crutches. And then I got mono
Oh.
a month after that and had to withdraw from all the rest of my classes. I had a case of mono that literally kicked my butt for 4 months and took me from a 185-pound athlete to about 115 pounds. And
whoa.
all my friends calling my family, being like, "Is he on drugs? What is going on? Does he need help? What is happening?" And it was just I had this really horrific case of mono. So that kind of those things put a damper on my year at USC, and I kind of realized that I needed to. Well, at the time, I realized that the money I had since I was putting myself through school was
Hmm.
going to be seriously depleted by doing another 4 years. And I kind of decided it was time to go back to acting for a while to try and help my mom out. Um, it was around that time that a lot of the trauma of my past, abuse from my stepfather and things like that started to rear its head. And my alcohol abuse began right around 19, 20 years old. And I was kind of lost in the wilderness there for a couple of years until I found the Cordon Bleu program over here in Los Angeles. And that's that was my second chance. That was my little bit of a rebirth, something else that I love and was passionate about. And I decided to chase it. And I still act when I can. I still,
Hmm.
you know, pick up gigs here and there. I still have lots of friends who are doing parts and they'll send me an independent script or they'll send me this and they say, "Hey, I got this role I would love for you to do. Take a look if it's something I'm interested in." So I still stay doing it, but cooking's my other, passion. And I love being behind the stove. The two places I feel
Wow.
the most at home are in front of a camera or behind a stove. So I'm very blessed that I have two passions like that I can chase, you know.
Uh-huh. And you're putting them both to good use as a celebrity chef, right?
I'm doing my best. That's one of the things I do is these celebrity chef cooking parties.
Hmm.
It's kind of what we're going to be doing um, in Bedford, Virginia, at the Blackwater Creek Event Center. It's basically it's one of my cooking parties. It's going to be kind of like a cooking show. If you remember the old Emerald show, where he had like the 8 to 10 guests right around the center island with him to interact with him. Well, that's what I do in my normal cooking parties and my normal cooking classes. Is
Hmm.
I go to someone's house and we develop a menu, whatever kind of theme they're looking for, and then I cook 4 to 5 dishes, teaching them everything as we go. They get to enjoy tasting portions of each of the dish. And I just give them kind of, history and background on the dishes, things they can do, things they can add. And we just have a really good time. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing here. We're going to
Nice.
have 12 VIPs. Those are going to be VIP donors. and they'll be right up front interacting with me and getting the lesson. And then there will be other seats in the actual audience where people can donate to just sit and watch and enjoy. And everybody's going to get to try the menu. I'll be cooking directly for our VIPs, and then the Blackwater Creek Event Center and Catering, their chefs are going to make my menu for everybody else in the crowd as well.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's going to be a really fun time. Everybody's going to get to have a great meal. Man, we're doing, I don't want to make you guys too hungry, but we're doing olive oil poached sweet shrimp,
Oh,
Tuscan soup with sweet sausage, kale, and sun-dried tomatoes, mushroom risotto, and then pan-fried braciole, which is beautiful beef fillet that you layer prosciutto, basil, and fontina cheese in between, and you bread it and
Wow.
saute it.
if you have
It's
any leftovers, please feel free to send them our way. Or you need somebody to test it for you. Both
so
of us would be great with that.
well, it's going to be a great event. It's going to be a great menu, and it's going to benefit two really great causes too. That's actually how I got hooked up with Bedford, Virginia. Is that I think it was about 4 years ago. It was before the pandemic. Was the first Bedford International Film Festival, and I got hooked up with them, and I fell in love with the town, and I fell in love with what they were doing. There's not a lot of opportunities for aspiring filmmakers in Virginia. I mean, it's across the country. If you're not in either LA, New York, or Atlanta, there's
Right.
really not a lot of places for you to get noticed right now. And that's really what the Bedford International Film Festival tries to do, is give these young local aspiring filmmakers not only guidance, but opportunities to get noticed and get their work out there.
Very
Um,
cool.
so the donations will be going to, part of the donations will be going to them, and part of the donations will also be going to a really awesome charity called the New Freedom Farm. And they're a farm, full working farm, that uses equine therapy and manual labor in the farm and everything else to help veterans and first responders dealing with PTSD. So it's a great program. They get to go there and form relationships with these animals. They get, definite work that they can do and see their accomplishments and feel immediate, response and gratification for the things they're doing. And they get paired with an animal that they get to take care of and form this relationship with. And it's incredibly healing. So that's the other charity that we're also working with for this.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we will have a link in our show notes so that people can go and check out how to get involved, how to get tickets. I understand you can also you can donate through the link even if you can't attend for some reason, right? Like so if you're out of town, you're not going to be there, but you still want to take up the cause. I guess you won't be sending leftovers to them, but
no, unfortunately, there's a little bit of health risk issues with that, but
right.
But truthfully, if anybody
Details.
wants
Come
to
on.
donate, they are two wonderful, wonderful causes. I got to see how much it meant to the local, aspiring filmmakers and these people who don't have an outlet for their craft, for their creations, and they don't have any way to get real feedback. I mean, you can always post something on YouTube, but then you got to deal
Right.
with the trolls, and you're not getting.
Yeah,
You don't know
that's not the feedback sometimes you want.
well, exactly. You don't know what feedback you're getting, who you're getting it from. But at the film festival, they have reputable, casting directors, producers, directors, actors, people coming in to evaluate this work and give them good criticism. And they're also hoping to start running more programs to be able to give them actual classes in filmmaking and, learning different aspects of it, different lighting techniques, different camera techniques, whatever they want to learn. So that's a big kind of next step for the Bedford International Film Festival as well.
Awesome. It's
So
a
yeah,
great cause. It's going to be a great event.
it's going
Looking
to be
forward to
so
hearing all
much
about
fun.
it. Absolutely. So, well, we know you're used to slaving behind a hot stove, but now we're going to put you in a hot seat. We're going to put you in the Geek Seat. Mike, I think he's ready.
He's a pro, though. I think he's going to be able
He
to
should
handle
be.
this perfectly.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, are you ready for your first question in the Geek Seat?
I'm ready.
All right, Jeremy. What was your favorite Geek Out moment?
I've really only had two
Really?
full geek outs in my life. The
Let's hear it.
first was when I was 10 years old, and we were doing an event at a orphanage, and Sylvester Stallone walked in.
Oh, wow.
Now, I'm 10 years old. I'm a huge Rocky fan. I've seen First Blood. I've seen every Rocky up until that point. I loved the Lords of Flat. I loved everything the guy did. So that was my one. At 10 years old, I really geeked out on him and even got in line with the orphans so that I could get a picture with him.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
I completely geeked out on him. And then more recently, I was doing an interview at a news station, and I'm done with the interview, and I'm sitting there talking to my fiance, and all of a sudden she sees my jaw just drop and I freeze. She's like, "Babe, what's wrong? What's wrong?" And I start going, "It's Paul Stanley. It's Paul Stanley." And Paul Stanley from Kiss had just walked in behind her and was doing an interview that day. So I got to meet Paul Stanley and completely fanboy and geek out on him as well. So those are my two total geek out moments.
That's awesome because it shows you have your fandom too. You
That's awesome.
exactly, and that's pretty awesome. What was your most disappointing geek out moment though?
Oh, well, there was a gentleman, and I hate to use names when it comes to this particular incident, but
That's fair.
there was a
If
guy
you
who
want, you could use initials or something like that.
No, no,
well,
no.
his
It's
initials
okay.
were MD, and he was a guy who'd done some pretty big action stuff in the 80s and some big films. And I was at my tennis club that I played at in high school because I was on the tennis team. And we actually didn't have courts at school. So we had to go to this little local tennis club. And I see this guy, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to go say hi. And him, I didn't totally fanboy out on. I actually approached him a little more professionally. I just walked up and I said, Mr. MB, I just wanted to say I'm a fan of your work. My name's Jeremy Miller from Growing Pains, and I really like what you do. And the guy looks me up and down like I am trash and turns his back away and starts talking to someone else.
Oh,
Hmm.
oh, that's just uncool. That's just
Well, I walked away, walked back to my friends, but I was a bit of a hothead back then. I was 17 years old. And by the time I got back to my buddies, I was like, no, wait a minute. Screw that. I turned around, I went back, and I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, pardon me. I said, I'm not a fan. I said, I'm a colleague. Like, I was coming here to tell you how much I appreciate your work. If you treat fans like that, you're a scumbag. And he
yeah.
got pissed and kind of looked like he was going to square off on me. And I picked up my tennis racket and was like,
Let's
Come,
go.
clock me,
let's
pal.
go,
Don't
dude.
And then he walked away and I walked away. But that was probably because I didn't expect that kind of attitude from him. It does happen in Hollywood, but I've never understood that. We don't have a career without our fans. I mean, your movies don't do well without your fans. How dare you treat them like crap? So that was my most disappointing.
That's
Totally
fair.
fair. That's totally fair. What geeks you out the most?
Oh, it's probably it's a tie. I am a Harry Potter geek. I
Really?
will
You're
admit,
one of
I will
those. Got it.
absolutely admit it. But I'm also a total food geek. I geek out over chefs. That's the great chefs, the ones who are doing really special things. I mean, like if I ever got the chance to meet Thomas Keller, who's generally considered the greatest American chef right now, I don't even know if I could speak. I mean, when he opened his restaurant out here in LA, I sent in my resume and everything else and told him flat out, I will sweep your floors. Just let me in the kitchen. Just give me a starting place. I said,
Wow.
I am a fully trained chef. I don't even need a chef job. I will be your porter. I will wash the kitchen. I mean, that's how much I truly geeked out. He's an amazing chef. And that's my other place I geek out. If I get a chance or opportunity to eat at a great chef's restaurant or meet an incredible chef, I kind of lose it.
Nice.
Totally cool. I totally respect that, man. What turns your geek off?
Hmm?
What turns your geek off?
Hmm. That's a really good one. I don't know. I don't know if there's much that turns my geek off because when it comes to the things I actually geek out about, there's not much you can do to dampen that.
That's fair. That's cool. This is your segment, so it could be any answer you want anyway.
That's
So
true.
this is pretty cool. What fictional character would you like to meet the most?
I've actually thought about that one a lot of different times, and honestly, it'd probably be Dr. Frankenstein.
Wow.
Really?
That is a brain I would love to pick.
That's what Igor said too.
um, yeah, I think honestly it would be Dr. Frankenstein, because
Okay.
the delving into that mind, that genius, but what drives that mania, knowing he's doing something so horrific, just fascinates me.
No, that totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. That would be kind of cool to see, trying, because he was obsessed with bringing the corpse to life or reanimate. And so, yeah.
That's a different kind of cooking.
Oh, very much so.
Very, very different cooking.
Which fictional character would you like to meet the least? These are slowly getting harder as they go on.
Yeah, you're telling me. Well, easy answer would be Dracula, but that's kind of a cream puff answer. Truthfully, the person I would least like to meet, probably Don Quixote.
Yeah, just don't put him near a windmill. That's all.
He's a little crazy.
Oh yeah.
Well, a little nuts, and just passionate enough to perhaps convince you. So I'm not sure I'd want to go down that road with him.
Yeah, good point.
Good point, Dave. All right, Jeremy, what is your favorite geek word, phrase, quote, or pose?
I honestly, that's one I don't think I really have.
Because it could be something as simple as like awesome, or
Well,
or yeah.
that's probably it's probably awesome. Then that's something I say way too much as a child of the 80s.
You and me both. You and me both. Sir.
Absolutely.
What is your ideal geek occupation?
Probably, well, that's an interesting one, because as I've said, working for an incredible chef in an incredible restaurant like that would geek me out completely. So working at the French Laundry or any one of somebody like Thomas Keller's incredible restaurants would geek me out completely. But my ultimate kind of geek moment would be to, geek gig, job, whatever you want to call it, would probably be to travel for food. Just traveling the world for, and this is where it'd be different, is traveling the world for food in places that are based on like my favorite literature, like Harry Potter places, or this H.P. Lovecraft, and going back to Europe and all the weird places, or New England and all the weird places he wrote about, and finding authentic food, or finding, that'd be kind of my geek job moment, would be to be able to take people along that journey that I kind of go on mentally myself when I'm reading. Because as a chef, I'm reading something, and I'm thinking about the region and what they would eat, what they would do, what they would. That's just kind of one of the ways my weird brain works.
That's pretty awesome, though.
That is great.
I actually was working on a documentary that I was planning on making once about, it's called Guy Ate Here, and it was about the diners, drive-ins, and dives, and going back to the places he went and seeing how it changed him going there, has changed the restaurants and everything. And it just,
that would have been, I'd have watched that definitely.
I think it would have been totally cool to do. Every time we, when my son was little, every time we used to go to a different city and everything, Dad, we got to go here. Guy Fieri went to this place and he went to that. It's like, okay, no more TV for you, son. What geek occupation would you not like to do?
Working at an amusement park.
It's a good one.
I have a lot of friends who were big Disney geeks, who aspired to, at just some point in their life, work at Disney. And, it's just something that I've never, as much as I have a passion for Harry Potter, I would never want to work at the Harry Potter world at Universal. As much as I've had a passion for Disney over the years, like everybody in this world, I would never want to work at an amusement park working as one of the characters. But I know many people who did aspire to that, not as a long-term, career or goal, just as something they wanted to accomplish at some point in their life. I think that's the one I would probably turn down the quickest.
Yeah. I had a couple of actor friends who took Weird Al song Skipper Dan a little too seriously because they were talking about the people who wanted to be actors and got stuck working the Jungle Cruise ride.
Yep.
So that's pretty awesome though. All right. Ready for your final question in the Geek Seat, sir?
All righty.
All right. What is your ultimate geek fantasy?
See, here's where it's going to get a little different, because after everything I've said about the chefs and everything else, my ultimate geek fantasy would be to get to travel for a season with the USC Trojans football team.
Oh,
wow.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that one.
No.
Said it's a little out of left field, but I am a diehard Trojan, have been since I was like 7 years old. And that for me would be like the ultimate geek out experience, would be to spend a season with them, travel with them, give me a role. I don't care what it is, carry the equipment, whatever, but just see everything that goes behind the scenes, all the ups and downs, and be a part of that for a season would be my absolute ultimate geek out.
Awesome.
That is awesome. That one surprised me. This is good.
Yeah, it did.
You got me there, Jeremy. You really got me there. Well, Jeremy, I've got some amazing news for you, my friend. You've made it through the Geek Seat. Congratulations.
Huzzah! Huzzah!
Mr. Mike Gordon, tell the young man what he's won.
You have won a lifetime subscription to the ESO network, a value easily worth $68.04. It has been amazing having you on here. I do have to ask one more question. I was thinking of it while Mike was doing the Geek Seat. Do you have a dish? What is your big specialty as a chef?
Your signature dish.
Yeah, so your signature dish.
Truthfully, I don't have a true signature dish because I am so ADD. It changes on a weekly basis, and I've studied, so many different cuisines. So one week it could be, risottos. Another week it could be barbecue. Another week it could be jambalaya and barbecue Louisiana shrimp. I mean, I'm all over the place as a chef. So
that is awesome.
I will say that I probably take pride in everything I do, but my soups tend to be something that I really excel at, that I love to make, and that I always get just incredible reviews on. My whole family looks forward to the cold months when I can start making soups. And it's something I really enjoy. I enjoy the slow process of building levels of flavor on level of flavor, and, just letting it all come together. There's something really special about throwing it all in a pot and turning it into magic.
Well, you're in Southern California, though, but is there really cold months there?
Well, occasionally. I mean, like right now for California, we're getting into the 40s at night, and we're in the low 60s during the day, so it's a little chilly for California.
You might have to close a window or two. There you go.
It's still soup season. It's still soup season. Doesn't matter what the temperature is outside. All right, very cool. Well, December, what is it, 17th, 18th, right?
17th and 18th.
You'll be at Blackwater Creek and doing the Celebrity Chef Cooking Show. And like I said, we'll have a link in our show notes so that people can check that out. Where can people go to find out more about what you're doing, what you're making, what you're cooking? Jeremy.
Well, they can go to the Bedford International Film Festival on Facebook if they want to learn more about that. Like you said, I'm sure you guys will have the link. You can go to any of my social media, which is The Real Jeremy James Miller on Instagram and Mr. Jeremy James Miller on Facebook. And you can go there, any of my posts about the cooking. I also post on there regularly about my availability dates for home cooking parties, things like that, or, catering events, other things, and any new shows I'm doing, any new projects I'm working on. So you guys can find everything there.
Awesome. Awesome. It's been amazing having you join us. Thank you so much.
Mike, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
This has been fun. Let's take a quick break and we are going to be back, and we're going to be taking a little different turn now. And Darren's going to be joining us, and we are going to be looking at Pee-wee's Playhouse Christmas Adventure. See you in a sec, folks.